So, seeing as I was chastised thoroughly for my product placement last time, am I not allowed to? This week's episode is brought to you by Grey Wolf. Laura Morgan had a straw in it, but I made her take it out because it looked bad. Uh-oh, guys, we got Jeff Gellman on the line.
Should I pick it up?
I guess we got to pick it up. You guys will get to be privy to a little of this.
Gellman, be cool. We're on a Q&A Saturday.
Oh, so you can't talk.
We're talking to you, baby. We always got time for you.
Oh. So this morning when I was on the treadmill, like you answered that, I don't know if like my text made sense. You answered that, you answered the woman about the wheelchair, and I'm like, take the remote to the elevator, like, because I pressed on to say that, and then you got it right, Morgan.
Oh, you and I said the same thing?
Yeah, well, I didn't wait till you said the answer because
Oh, yeah.
I wanted I'm trying to interact with your
Yeah.
your thing, you know. Yeah.
Right.
But that's exactly what you actually tape it to the duct tapes all.
But actually, that's interesting, Gellman, that you bring that up because, guys, if you follow the Q&A Saturdays here, you remember a question where someone was in a wheelchair, where they're actually using the e-collar remote and they're in the wheelchair, and we emailed our friend Greg, who owns e-collar technologies, just a text away for Jeff. He's awesome. And he had come up with a special way that the woman could actually do a mouthpiece and hit it with her tongue and activate the e-collar. So it was pretty cool. He's a badass, and he's working on that right now for us. So
pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got pull.
We got pull.
He's a really great guy. You know what they could also do is I wonder if they could put that magnet. You got magnets, you can magnetize.
Okay, guys.
Are we back?
We're back after talking to Gellman.
Jeffrey Gellman of Solid Canine Training. We had some
Serious.
T3, some serious business details
To attend to.
get to the bottom of.
Okay, so question.
Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog and the interrupting but still lovely Laura Morgan. All right, now you can hit it.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right, question number 1. Kathleen Ragsdale says, "Hey Sean and Laura,
Hey,
love
Kathleen.
your work.
Thank you, Kathleen.
I have a 2.5-year-old pit rescue. She had no training at all at 8 months. We did basics with click and treat. She's been in doggy daycare where I worked. She got bit twice by little dogs. Life changed when we moved into a community with a lot of little dogs. She's become very dog aggressive as she's gotten older. I have control with her on the prong for the walk, but not around other dogs. She still goes nuts. I got an e-collar after watching some of your Q&As, as it looks like taking her to areas with less distractions is the best way. How long before I reintroduce her to the neighborhood? I live in a neighborhood with grouchy old people that give dirty looks. I'm the old lady with a crazy pit. When we walk, she sits. When bikes and people walking go by, she's even better around squirrels, but dogs not good. I've had the e-collar up to 40 and she still went nuts. So we have been walking out of the neighborhood. Any suggestions?
Kathleen, so sorry to hear about that. When your dog gets attacked, it's a regular thing that we get over here where clients show up, it can be a few months, it can be a few years afterwards, especially if a dog was younger, and then they start to manifest all sorts of bad stuff. So I'm really sorry to hear that. So basically what you got a dog who's, dogs are smart, and your dogs realize that those little suckers are dangerous. Yeah. And so now you're getting more reactivity, and no doubt it'll probably generalize even to bigger dogs and things like that. So, all right, so she said...
so she's been out of the neighborhood working on e-collar, but dogs are still a problem. She doesn't know when to reintegrate into the neighborhood.
Right, she's on prong and e-collar, correct?
Yep.
Right, okay, great. All right, Kathleen, so you've got all the right tools. That's super duper awesome. I would say that you start in a I don't want to say a neutral area, but a fairly quiet place. Start nice and quiet. And what we're shooting for is not dog stuff right now. So I don't know exactly what...
She's already been doing that, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I'm going to go deeper with this. Yeah. So what I want you to shoot for, and what we always shoot for with clients, is not the dog stuff, but go immaculate with your heel. I want that dog so perfectly healing that he's thinking 24/7 about where your leg is, 24/7 about, man, where's Kathleen, 24/7 about, I'm trying to not make my mom look bad in front of all these grouchy old people. So I want him really focused, and if you'll get him that focused mentally, he's only going to have a little bit left to get into trouble with the other dogs. So that's first and foremost. Is that Belle snoring? Sorry, guys.
Belle.
She's whistling Dixie over there. So first and foremost, guys, right? And you probably have a pretty good heel, but I want it immaculate. I want it perfect. I want zero pulling to trees, bushes, zero sniffing, zero marking, zero targeting, anything like that. Now, once that's really, really great, then you can start moving into areas that are more challenging. But don't take that more challenging part and like slam it. It doesn't mean high pressure situations. It doesn't mean threading the needle, anything like that. It means being really strategic and knowing how good your dog and your timing and your mechanics and ability are to respond to the situation. So the better you are, the better your dog is, the closer you can be. The less better you are and the less better your dog is, the more space you're going to need to mitigate some of that pressure. So a couple things I've written down for you. Space, you got to use more space as you see dogs. Even taking so when you start to get into a more kind of a little tighter spot with dogs, I mean, starting across the street from dogs would be a great start. But as you start to move a little bit closer, I definitely want you to create a bubble around dogs as you start to get better and better with this. Another part of this is I want you to correct earlier and more firmly. So pitties are real easy because they typically give really good reads with their ears, a lot of wrinkled forehead and a lot of ears. If you're not correcting for that, you're missing the boat. That's your moment. That's your time. That's your doorway in. So you're walking. Your dog is in a great heel. Everything's looking great. No one's shooting you the stink eye. You're feeling good. And all of a sudden, ears come up. Will my hat do it? It won't do it. Forehead wrinkles, right? Yeah. Forehead wrinkles. That's where you correct. You don't correct when there's a pull. You don't correct when there's a growl. You don't correct when there's a lunge or a bark. That's too late. You correct as soon as the state of mind starts to escalate. It goes from 1 to 2 to 3, and bam, and you correct and bring the state of mind right back down. So correct early. Do not wait. Most clients sit and wait and they go, oh man, maybe it's not going to react this time, or I'm not sure if this is an appropriate time to correct because he hasn't really done anything. Yes, as soon as the state of mind shifts, and you'll see that reflected in the body language. You'll see the ears and the forehead and a little tension like that. Excuse me. That is exactly when you correct. Mm-hmm. Go after your dog pretty firmly and really quickly like that, and stay calm and cool. Don't raise your voice. Don't no. Just no. Nice and matter of fact. Simultaneously correct with the e-collar, and then if that level doesn't get your dog right there, move quick and find the level that does pretty straight away. You've got, I don't want to say milliseconds, but you've got maybe milliseconds. It's really got to be quick from the point of like, so say you even see a dog, then a good method is just to preemptively roll up and be ready for your dog. Yeah. So by the time you get into a pressure situation, you're already set. You already kind of have an idea of where to go. You can pop, and if you need more juice, you just go up just a little bit and you should be there. Let me check my notes if there's anything else. Also, don't use the prong for corrections. Because for a lot of pitties that are reactive, the prong will juice them up a little bit more. So what I want you to do is let that left arm, you won't be able to see it in the video, but let it hang just neutrally, kind of like the scarecrow. Just let it hang. Hold the leash firmly so you got a good hold on your dog, whether you're holding the leash with just one or two hands. Regardless, what I'm basically trying to get at is I want that leash hand relaxed. I don't want you using the leash to do the pops or corrections. Of course, you can use the leash to restrain your dog if all hell breaks loose and you're having trouble. But I want you basically to be using the e-collar for 99% and then the prong collar just as your backup to direct or guide the dog if you need to. And if all hell breaks loose, which it shouldn't because you're moving slow and you're across the street and you're using space and you're correcting early and you're correcting firmly, but if it does, I would like you to turn your dog around and have your dog face rear end towards whatever the target is, and then your job is to keep your dog's focus not looking at the other stuff, right? So your dog is reversed, kind of like me. The dog would be behind me if I was your bad dog. And every time the head goes to move, correct, no, right? You can use the prong collar to keep the body in the right position, use the e-collar to focus that back. So that is what I would suggest for your situation. Either that or you have to move and find a place where there's no little bratty dogs. And I'm not sure there's such a place
I don't think
anywhere in the world.
Because we might go there.
Hey, tell me where it's at. Tell me where it's at, Kathleen. I'm moving. I'm ready to go.
That's not true. I actually, for months now, I've been thinking about the idea of a little dog. So, anyway, we don't hate on little dogs.
No, we don't hate on little dogs.
No,
but they tend to give a lot of people with reactive dogs the shaft because they don't typically get discipline and structure or any kind of consequences for behavior. So we all know the drill. They just tend to be a little bit. Yes.
I think it'd be cool to have one that's just badass, like Josh Moran.
Yeah.
Badass little.
The barefoot dog trainer. Mm-hmm. From one barefoot dog trainer to another. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Kathleen, good luck.
Good luck. Question 2. This is from Artem.
Who?
Our favorite guy.
Our man in the Ukraine.
Artem. Hello, Sean and Laura.
Hello, Artem.
How to deal with a dog who had strong corrections on a prong and now he's biting so hard when the owner tries to put any collar or leash on him. He already bit both owners. Dog is quite strong. It's a rottie mix. He's anxious, tense, and bratty as usual. What happened is the owners just put a prong on him without any idea and information how to use it and just started yanking and cranking. And he's also reactive to male dogs, so several times he lunged towards the other dog and got strongly corrected by the prong just by himself, by his own volition. Prong is not Hermspringer, it's something cheap with very sharp tips with the prong, so every time the owners try to put it on or take it off, he growls and starts to bite. Any suggestions?
Get a smaller dog. Don't start off that way. A lot of stuff. Okay, so Laura's first, as soon as she read the question, her thing was get the dog on a muzzle, right? So that's an obvious one. Get the dog on a muzzle to where, of course, that's easier said than done, right? So that means muzzle conditioning. And rather than trying to fight and force a dog to have a muzzle, you and if you are curious, Laura can hook you up with a link to Josh Moran, the barefoot dog trainer we just talked about.
Muzzle conditioning
video, and it's all about conditioning the dog rather than forcing the dog to accept the muzzle, and then that really mitigate or circumvent, depending on which word you like best, getting that leash on or that prong collar on without having any biting issues and keeping everybody safe. So once the dog is muzzle conditioned, then you're safe. You put that on, and you get the dog leashed up, and you go like that. And then the hope would be that just by the new training being more humane and more sane, and of a higher quality, that the dog would start to feel better about everything and less reactive and less concerned and kind of in a defensive mode. Yeah. So that's one thing. Another thing you can do is you can, which is challenging a little bit, but you can definitely do it, which is counter conditioning, and you can only feed your rottie or that rottie when you're going to put the prong collar on, which means the challenge is that you only feed the rottie when that goes on, and if the rottie doesn't want to eat, he doesn't get the prong collar on, and so he waits until later on. You give him another opportunity to eat and put the prong on, and you just pair that situation together. So it can definitely be done. There's lots of ways to counter condition cleverly like that, but that takes a little more time, and I don't know if your clients are down for that or not. But so that's one approach. So we've got muscle conditioning, we've got counter conditioning, and then another option would be like go to e-collar and use a dominant dog collar on him or a martingale. Yeah. That way your dog's not getting, it's not your dog, I'm sorry, but that rottie's not getting, here comes that tool with, the sharp stuff that I've had all these negative experiences with. Dominant dog collar, you can purchase them from learberg.com, and they're sized, for the dog, so you just have to make sure you measure the dog's neck right, but they're really good for any dogs that are biting, because you can take drive and that kind of bitey stuff right out of them really quick without them escalating. They're just a slip collar that's exactly fitted to the dog's neck and doesn't go over the head, goes around and clips and stays right here. So you have good control, and if a dog tries to give you a hard time, you can really get rid of that pretty quick. And then you can use that in conjunction with an e-collar, and then you kind of get rid of that whole prong collar association that's causing the rottie the problem. And if you do the e-collar training right, then the dog should be comfortable and relaxed and easy. And that's just one way to kind of like mitigate and get around, you know, that whole situation that unfortunately got off on the wrong foot. So those are my answers for the rottie. That was not well, but he wasn't given a fair shot. So it really wasn't his fault, you know. Especially with the rottie, because Rottie's going to be like, dude, you know who I am, right? Yeah. I'm a rottie. You're going to crank and yank me? Yeah. We'll have words.
I would say probably to check out where the owners, like the difference in energy level with the owner versus the rottie. So if the owner's got really soft energy with that kind of dog, you're gonna get in trouble. And also just seeing, like, you know, if putting a tool on a dog.
Also, are they frustrated?
Yeah, right.
You know,
Is there emotional stuff coming into it?
Were they the ones cranking and yanking, or was it a dog trainer? Right. If it was if they were the ones doing the cranking and yanking, then we've got emotional issues. We've got out of control people that are not, you know, frustration tolerance problems, and then we've got direct associations with the owners and the dog creating that. So that's problematic.
Yeah. Just watch for that stuff, just from a training standpoint, because a lot of this, you know, you've got a dog that's biting. It's a dangerous dog. You just want to make sure, you know, him being challenged by a tool that actually affects him could be bringing out a dog that isn't necessarily the best fit if it's a really soft owner, or, you know, if not the other way. But just checking in on that, all those things, yeah.
Try and here's the real key point, is try and keep them all attached. Keep them all attached is really the goal. That was
the first thing you taught me, really.
Right? And this, right? Keep this attached and keep these attached.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Solid.
We love you, Artem. Question number 3.
Can I call her Steph? You
can.
Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't say hi to us, though, so maybe you should.
Stephanie, how are you?
Stephanie Woods.
Welcome.
I have acquired a third dog in my house. She's reactive to my other dogs and jumps on them. This has caused some bad feelings, and now it's a stare down with tense body movement.
Yeah.
They can do things together when they have a job, example like walking on a leash or playing touch. How can I get them past the stress mode and all be relaxed together? Right now, I keep them all separate.
Stephanie, it's time for a beatdown. No, just kidding. It's not time for a beatdown just yet. Okay, so put the beatdown on the back burner. What I would suggest is, what I'd suggest is, if you're having, you know, shenanigans and energy level issues, you know, with your dog, just kind of, it sounds like your dog's excited and just doesn't know how to manage himself, you know, in those kind of situations. So a real easy fix is leash and prong. You can even put the dog on a prong, even if it's a small dog. You can get a small prong and a long line and let the dog drag it around. That way you've got the long arm of the law. And if your dog, if you think about it, it's real simple, straightforward stuff. Your dog's around the other dogs, your dog gets excited, your dog starts to make bad choices or misbehave, and you give him a little pop and say no, connect it with a verbal no, and then give him a little pop on the leash and let him know that excitement you want to just taper down or, you know, reduce a little bit, and that the jumping up or the, you know, unmitigated silliness is not what you're looking for. So that's one really, that's one really easy approach and cheap. So you could go, you know, if you want to go just like a cheap generic, you could go to a Petco or something like that and get I know I'm
not that expensive. You can go on 1-800-PetSupplies.com and get a $25 Herm Springer.
Okay, well, she does all the ordering, so I don't know about that stuff. So
don't go to Petco. Don't get a generic.
Like $110.
No, if people come to us, with a generic, we switch them out pretty quick, and it's not because
we throw them out of here.
Yeah, no, we throw them out. Yeah, but the whole thing is because they're not as effective. We don't get a cut from any Herm Springers that we sell. We just know how effective they are. So you've got.
Are you undermining my authority here? I think she was.
Go ahead.
No, Laura Morgan is 100% right. I think just to make sure that I give myself some some breathing room here. The reason I suggest that is if we're not really using it for kind of like a more comprehensive training tool. If you were just going to use it around, bad dog situation, you just wanted a corrective tool real quick to work on that kind of stuff, then you could kind of get away with a cheaper thing. But if you're going to do walks or anything, which would be the super awesome thing to do, if you're going to do walks and any other structured exercises like place command, if you want to get this dog to have like a good state of mind, then what this girl over here suggested is the right answer. So, and like she said, I had no idea you could get them. That's a pretty good price. Yeah. What is it? Dogs.com?
Dogs.com.
What's it called? I know. Uh-oh, we lost her. We lost her, guys.
Dogs.com. That's an amazing URL. I'm sure.
Okay. Why don't you... Okay, guys.
It's 1-800-PetSupplies.com.
You guys all
but
just...
dogs.com is amazing. I love this. The first thing you thought of.
Hang on. You guys just have to sit tight with me whilst I do a little...
What is it? Dogs.com.
Let's just see what comes up.
PetSmart.
Dogs.com.
Takes you to PetSmart. So PetSmart is ballin', first of all. Second of all, 1-800-PET-SUPPLIES because PetSmart doesn't have the Hermspringers. I know this.
But it's a real URL, okay?
Of course. No, I knew it was a real URL. It's not about that.
But somebody mentioned on a... are you trying to make me look bad on this? No. I think she's trying to make me look bad here.
No.
On one of the dog trainer forums, I saw dogs.com, and so I took it for granted. But apparently I've been made a fool of. So anyways, she does all the ordering.
What I love about it is that
training,
you really don't do anything online.
I do like
Besides,
Amazon. I order books and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways,
besides all our social media. So.
Yeah, so there's a whole empire component of this that I'm taking care of. Anyways, so let's get back to the question. So long line, if you want, you can get a long line from PetSmart if you go to dogs.com, or you can go to any online shop, Amazon, anything like that. And you can get a long line, you get like a 25-footer or 15-footer even, and just let your dog drag it around. And that way you can have the line in your hand, and your dog starts. The goal is just your dog misbehaves, and give it information. Just let it know what behaviors are wanted. So that's one approach. Another approach, if you want to get fierce and feisty. Now this might be challenging for some of you out there, but dressage whips are actually really, really, really popular in the balanced dog training world. And of course, the image of it looks ominous and sinister, but it's not the case at all. Basically, you can use a dressage whip, which you can get at you can get at horse.
Yeah.
I was going to say tackle place, but
tackle feet.
Is it tackle? Mm-hmm. I was thinking that was like fishing. Tack.
Oh, tack.
Right, horse and tackle.
We don't know.
If you want to ride your horse and go fishing.
LA
so, right. So any kind of horse supply spot, or I know there's some spots on the internet that are not, or tractor supply, right? I think that's what it's called. And
tack and feed, anything like that.
Yeah.
Amazon has them too.
Yeah. So a dressage whip is basically just a big extension of your arm. So you can get a long one, you can get a 5-footer, 6-footer or something like that. And you can be sitting on your couch, or you could be standing on the sidelines, and your dog is like misbehaving, and you can give it a quick little pop, little tap on the rear, and your dog goes, whoa! And you go, yeah, stop misbehaving. And actually, the reason we use dressage whips like that, for one, if we're doing socialization stuff, we can direct dogs here and there, like lengthening our arms. But also, it really relaxes. It really it dissipates.
De-escalates, yeah.
It really de-escalates kind of like intense, anxious energy.
Yeah.
So you walk around with a dressage whip, and I'm telling you, give a dog a little pop on the rear, and I'm not talking about anything super firm, but you'll see dogs marching around that house like, yes, ma'am. Where do you want me to lay down? Yes, ma'am. So it can be a pretty effective tool. Just make sure your neighbors don't see you, because they might think you're up to no good.
Okay, question number 4. Julie says, hi, Sean and Laura.
You're really going slow on this
I know.
Yakety yak.
Hi, Sean and Laura. Hope all is well.
Hi.
I'd like to know how you walk 2 dogs and hold the e-collar controller. One dog's on the prong and the other's on the combo of e-collar and prong. Do you walk them both on the same side? They're both mastering the heel. If you walk both on one side, how do you correct one without correcting the other? My smaller dog walks better than my stubborn British bully. And when walking them together, the bully wants to always be ahead of the other like it's a race. But I continue to correct her to the heel position. Maybe I'm undercorrecting her so the consequences aren't enough when the two of them are together. Should I just continue to walk them separate until their heel is perfect?
Which one's on the e-collar?
The one, not the bully.
Not the bully, but that's a stubborn
Seems like
one.
it.
Right?
Oh, actually, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she specified.
No.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say then she continues with nice stuff. You want to hear it?
Oh, yeah. I always
says,
want to hear nice stuff.
I'd also like to thank you again for all your videos and tips and your dedication to helping people with their dogs. I was walking my bully the other weekend, or bully mix, the other weekend, and some lady had a yappy Boston Terrier, and my bully did great, just sitting there ignoring. She complimented me on how well behaved my dog was. I've never had anyone compliment me on her behavior before, and it felt so good to hear that. So thanks again, guys, and keep up the fantastic work. Can't wait till your book and TV show comes out. The show will be available in Canada. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the book will come out. The book's out in a couple months, and the TV show, at least the teaser of it, will be out in a couple months. And we're thinking we're going to do the TV show just on YouTube. So absolutely will be available in Canada.
Wow, that's, you know, we do this all the time. We put out a lot of videos, we get a lot of emails, but I tell you, I never get tired of hearing people having celebratory moments with their dogs, you know,
cool.
and like having victories where, you know, they can just go out and feel good and their dogs, it's the coolest. So
why we do this.
Yeah, so much so. Okay, so how to walk dogs on, okay, 2 dogs, so with different tools. Now, if you've just got them all on leash and prong, it's a piece of cake. You can put it both on one side, you can put one on each side, and you can independently correct. Even, you know, when I used to do dog walking and with, you know, a ton of dogs, I would put them all in one hand. That way I could reach over and correct with whichever hand, you know, whatever leash I needed to. But this is not going to work for you. So what I would suggest is, as I was brainstorming, trying to think of your situation, so you got one on prong, one on e-collar. I think what I'd do is I'd put the prong collar dog on my left, because you're going to have an e-collar. If you're right-handed like most people, you're going to have your e-collar in this hand, and you're not going to be able to hold the e-collar and do decent leash corrections, right? So we want...
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Are you...
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So... so... Where was I?
Prong collar on
right.
one side.
So prong collar on the left, prong collar dog on the left side. So you've got your left hand to be able to do leash corrections without anything but the leash in it, right? And then right hand, you've got the e-collar and you've got the leash in your hand, and you really shouldn't have to do much in the way of holding that leash except just securing it in your hand. And there's lots of ways to do that safely. You can wrap it around your hand a couple times, put the e-collar here, and then correct like that. So that's one way to do it. You could also put them both on one side, and you could have, you know, the dog on the left, have them both on, I'm sorry, you can't see my hands, have them both on the left, and you could be holding both leashes, and you could fashion it to where the dog who pulls on prong collar, the leash is actually shorter, so it's kind of marionette style. So when you go to correct, you correct that one, and you leave a little more slack on the right-hand dog, and you can still use the e-collar. So those are my suggestions, but I get a sneaking suspicion that someone's got a much more enlightened opinion and suggestion. So I'm going to defer to this lady over here and see what she's got.
That's a snarky little response for some help.
I don't know.
Basically, I was just going to say, spend the money and get a double dog e-collar. Easy peasy. Train both your dogs on e-collar. You have one remote. You have both dogs on e-collar. You have 2 fingers. So one dog does something wrong. No. The other one. No. No. Right? So, and I guarantee you, whatever dog is on the prong, if they're pushing it, it's not going to be the same thing. So what I do is have 2 dogs in one hand, left hand, and then my double dog remote on the other side. Now, if you have an educator, if you have an e-collar technologies, you just have one dog system, you can actually just order a single dog collar and pair it to your remote. So you have a 2-dog remote going on with 2 collars.
It won't cost you a lot more money.
I mean, even if you had to buy a whole new system for $250, what's $250 for the lifetime of having both dogs e-collar trained? You know what I mean? I'm taking my jacket off for this.
Man, it's getting rough in here.
No,
it's a great suggestion. It's a great suggestion. I was just kind of going with, what she had and trying to help her where she existed in her life, rather than pushing her into some financial bind where she might not be able to eat or, take care of herself or her children. But, so really good suggestions all the way around. If you've got the budget, if you got the dough, then that's what Laura suggested is really the best way to go, because you don't have to fight with your dogs. Honestly, if you're struggling on leash and prong, e-collar, like if we take a dog out and we're doing good work with the dog on prong and the dog is struggling, we go straight to e-collar. We don't mess around. It's some dogs just struggle more on the prong, and it's just so much easier on them and on you to have them on the e-collar, and then to be able to be relaxed, and you can just kind of like daydream and walk down the street and correct if you need to, or communicate. It's a nice thing to do if you can.
It's cool to have both dogs. I think the e-collar should come with every dog. We always talk about that. I think the e-collar is just a wonderful tool to gently communicate if you want, or yell at your dog if there's safety. If you need to. So, so why not? I can tell you've already done a lot of work. You might as well get your other dog on it.
Yeah, and if you already know how to do the work to create the heel, then you're kind of, more than halfway there. So, so check it out. So you got multiple suggestions there. Hopefully you can remember what I said earlier about different ways to hold the leash, and after all of our yakking and put it together if you need to. Right?
All right. Cool.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, question 5. Katie. Ooh. No. Katie says, hello again, Sean and Laura.
Hey, Katie.
Hey, Katie. A lot of people have concerns about prongs and e-collars harming their dogs. And it's a great concern to get educated on, as I do know they work and are safe. Oh, God. It's Sunday night, and they're safe if they're used correctly. My question is, you always talk about turning up the e-collar when hard corrections, state of mind change are needed. But at what point is it dangerous? One concern is that I think they can cause burns, which I think I noticed on my dog one day when her collar was a bit tighter when she got corrected. It was closer to the skin than normal. As with prongs, there have been pictures of holes in the neck. Of course, who knows how the collar was used in that situation. I just want to know your opinion. What level of correction gets dangerous for the dog's safety? I know you guys know what you're doing, but the average person going out and buying these tools may not know if there's a limit to their misbehaved dog's behavior. I hope it makes sense. Thanks again. I love Saturdays. Awesome. Great question.
Thanks. Yeah, that actually is a really great question.
Awesome question. We should do a whole video just on this question.
Yeah. Well, we're going to jump into it. We're going to do our very best. So first things first, Katie Myers. The good news is e-collars can't burn holes in your dog. So get a hold of that, really grab onto that. So what you're getting is you're getting pressure sores, and you even talked about some of the reasons that it's happening. I'm getting pressure sores right now from Laura Morgan. So you
if I sat here for a week
with sharper fingers,
fingers just for a day,
more pointed. So you were even saying that the collar, I think, was tighter, was closer to the skin. So that's exactly what's going on, right? So if you've got the collar and it's too snug and it's pushing in, what happens is it starts to break down the tissue of the neck, and it breaks it down right where those two probes are. And then what happens is people think that it's burned holes in the dog, but it's not. The e-collar, you can put the e-collar on like one of the things you could put it on a steak, and you could put it on 100, and you can just hold it, for as long as you want, and it won't burn the steak. It won't cause any change. It won't do anything. It doesn't send current like that. So just to kind of get it all out there for everybody watching, e-collars cannot burn holes. But what happens is, and there's a ton of propaganda against e-collars, so what they do is, it's funny because even people that know better, people that are really in the know about e-collars, they lie to you, and they say that e-collars are causing burning holes in dogs because they know that it's a very emotionally charged way of delivering what's going on. But the truth of the matter, it's not. It's I think it's actually got a name like skin necropsy. I can't say it. Necropsy. Something like that. Just the I'm not educated enough to say that, but it's the breakdown of the tissue.
It's dead tissue.
Dead tissue, just from the pressure. And some dogs are more sensitive to it than others, especially we'll see white dogs with short fur, white pitties, white bulldogs, white boxers, things like that. Their skin tends to be more sensitive, and we have to be more careful. And there's workarounds. Also, some dogs can have allergies to it, and they can get their skin can get irritated within just like a few minutes of wearing them. And those dogs usually are sensitive to the nickel and the stainless steel, and so there's alternative contact points to get around that as well. So hopefully that answers that part of it, right? So everybody, say it after me. E-collars don't burn holes in dogs. They're pressure sores, right? So, and then we're talking about, all right, so, and then I'm going to go back to e-collar after this, but let me go through the prong collar part. So there's a really famous picture that gets trotted out by the folks that probably talk also about e-collars burning holes in dogs. And it's that picture of a dog, and it's got, the dog's neck has been shaved. He's obviously at the vet. And I don't know if the prong collar's on him. I don't think it is. I think it just shows the holes. Shows all these impaled holes. It's horrible all around this dog's neck. So here's the deal. That's a really famous picture, and it gets used a lot. How come it's like it's the only one I've ever seen? So maybe there's another one circulating or two, but that's the only one I've ever seen. It's really famous, and it gets used by all the anti-prong collar folks. So the only way you create that is the same way you create harness, flat buckle, wire, chain, any embedded object in a dog that you see if you watch any of the vet shows, or if you go online and type in embedded harness, embedded flat collar, embedded choke chain, embedded wire in dog's neck, and what you'll find is you'll find pictures that look surprisingly very similar to the prong collar one, as far as that whatever object that I just described will be embedded in the skin. And how does that happen? It happens by leaving it on the dog for years and years and years, and it's too small, and the dog grows and grows and grows, so the tissue grows around it. So that's what you're seeing in that prong collar picture. You're seeing a dog who was probably left with a prong collar on for years and years and years. And so the tissue expanded on this, the dog grew, and then eventually it starts to impale into the dog's neck and grows around the skin and creates these big giant holes, and that's what you get. You get that picture. But that is not the picture of a dog that's been trained on a prong collar, or a dog who's been corrected on a prong collar. I've worked with 1 million dogs on a prong collar. It's a slight overstatement, but I've worked with a lot of dogs on a prong, and I've worked with some strong dogs, and I've worked with some dogs that have had some firm corrections, and I've never, ever, 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 ever seen anything like that. I mean, like, not even like a hint of that. What I have seen, and for full disclosure, is that the part where the chain goes through on the sides, there's a little, on the Herm Springer, there's a little like triangular piece on each side where the chain goes through, and occasionally on really short fur dogs, if you're doing a lot of corrections, what sometimes will happen is the chain will pull the hair and pinch a little bit, and it can irritate the skin, and you can actually get like some mild bleeding from that, especially like on short-haired white dogs, and that's from just the chain going through and just pinching. So prong collars aren't doing any of that damage. They're not creating that stuff, and like I said, what you're getting is a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of people that really don't want prong collars or e-collars being used at all. They're trying to ban them. They've already banned them in certain countries, and they're trying to ban them in a lot of other places. There's a lot of organization behind the positive only movement, and it's a scary proposition because it means a whole lot of dogs and owners won't be helped and won't be served. So anyway, so that's that. Let me just finish off here your question. This is a long Q&A Saturday. It's Q&A Saturday and Sunday. So the other part of this is what level e-collar corrections are unhealthy or dangerous, right? So the main way that people screw up e-collar training, and that any of us who've heard horror stories about e-collar stuff, is people putting e-collars on dogs and not conditioning the dog to tell the dog what the sensation means and what to do with the sensation. So if you put an e-collar on a dog and you just start pushing buttons and you don't tell the dog what that sensation means, it's going to freak out, scare, frighten, overwhelm, panic, and traumatize the dog, because the dog has no conception, no idea what that means. Yeah. They don't know what to do with it, so they don't know how to turn it off. So what does it do? It causes panic. Imagine if you all of a sudden had some strange sensation and no one taught you what to do about it, and you just thought that was going to be part of your life, or that it randomly came on and off. It's pretty terrifying. Mm-hmm. So what goes down with good, solid, healthy e-collar training is very low level introduction. Find the dog's working level, start working at that level, and you have a leash or a long line on, and you press the button at very low levels where the dog's barely even bothered, barely even knows that it's there, and then you give leash pressure guidance to show the dog what to do, and the second the dog starts doing what you're looking for with that leash guidance, you turn the button off, and the dog, you do that repetitively, and the dog goes, oh, when I feel that weird tickle sensation and I move in this direction, which let's say you're doing a recall, when I turn my head around and come towards the owner, the button goes off, and you do it over and over again. The dog's like, oh, great, that's cool. And you do it with several other exercises, and the dog is like, oh, this e-collar thing, this is a piece of cake. I get it. I know what it means. When it comes on, it means I'm supposed to be doing something or I'm not supposed to be doing something. So to answer your question completely, there really isn't, and this might bother some people, there's not really a dangerous level. If you've conditioned the dog thoroughly and completely and in the correct fashion, dogs aren't worried about the e-collar. That's the whole thing. Once they know what it means and they understand it, it's just like they've been conditioned to a prong or a choke chain or something else. If they get a firmer correction, they just go, oh, that's a firmer correction. Now, of course, there's a point where if you're being absolutely ridiculous about the correction level for the dog that you're dealing with, and you're not watching the dog and it's blowing his mind. Of course, there's any tool can be abused and can traumatize a dog, but the bottom line of what I'm trying to get across is that this concept of e-collars, like unraveling dogs and destroying dogs, the only way you can really freak a dog out with it is by not teaching it what it means and then start pushing buttons. You condition it properly and appropriately, then when the question you're asking about, like going up higher for corrections to get a state of mind change, doesn't bother the dog at all. Dog completely understands the tool. You go up higher and the dog goes, oh, it's the e-collar. I'm not supposed to be doing that. So that is hopefully a solid answer. I think I pretty much covered it. I feel like I really knocked that one out.
Yeah, but because that one's a really important one for balance training. Yeah. For what we do and for saving dogs, and the whole thing is just...
Hopefully you can spread that. That's Katie, right? Mm-hmm. So Katie, hopefully you can take that answer. And this isn't propaganda. This isn't, I don't have an axe to grind. I don't have an angle on this. I'm just telling you the truth as I know it. And hopefully you can help spread that truth. And if people are showing you that picture, like, look what prong collars do. Yeah. And go, that's an embedded collar. And so you don't have to buy into that. Or, maybe you can help even enlighten some people. So, Cool?
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Katie. Question 6. I'm going to speed these up.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Sheila Edwards says, hey, Sean and Laura, this is Sheila from Virginia.
Hey, Sheila.
I have a lab, 2 years old, rescued. Mm-hmm. I found your website and Jeff's about 3 months ago. I've been training my dog on a prong e-collar. Mm-hmm. I've been to 2 different trainers, off-leash and board and train here in Virginia. Although I think I've learned way more... Well, I don't know if we should share this. Yeah, I guess. I think I've learned way more techniques to train from your videos, Q&A, than from the training hands-on.
You can say that.
Yeah,
okay. That's awesome. But, I mean, I just have to say, once again, we take a lot of pride in putting out stuff that helps people, that empowers them to train their dogs and do well. And we try really hard to keep it simple and straightforward and with a lot of clarity. So when it works for people, we're pretty thrilled about it. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. My question is about your DVDs. Can you explain what you will learn from the DVDs? I'm thinking it's more detail and more like your board and train protocols. I need to work on more distraction training, other dogs. Any advice would be helpful. Thanks.
I'm going to let the lovely Laura Morgan, because she wrote up the PDF. I mean, we wrote it up together, but she was a big part of that. So why don't you tell the folks?
So with the DVD, I feel like what I explain to people in emails when they ask about the DVD, the biggest thing is that it's prong foundation. So if your dog already has prong foundation from using other trainers or other methods
or our videos,
our free videos, and you're just looking to get some more stuff with like dog interactions, or I've even had emails about dog aggression or human aggression, things like that, it's not the DVD for that. What are you doing?
I'm doing like a behind the scenes video.
No, it's not a good angle. Just get my hair.
You're so lucky it froze and won't shoot anymore. Look at that. Oh, that's terrible. Come on, iPhone.
So, I mean, if you're looking for like more serious issues, you say distraction stuff, like the DVD doesn't really go into distractions like
it describes how to work on them. Yeah.
I personally feel like the PDF, which is something that Sean and I worked hours and hours and hours on, is worth the price of admission just within itself. And I've heard that same comment from a lot of people, and that's not to toot our own horn, although I'm okay with that. But I really feel like that thing is a full comprehensive plan. You get all of the philosophy that people that come into our board and train and spend, $3,000 or something to be able to talk to us about all of the philosophy, all the reasons to do things, all of the training protocols. So that PDF has all of it. And then you have the DVD as well, which shows you, shows Sean going through all the motions of all the things. So if you have not done prong foundation, you've not worked on a prong collar, you haven't worked duration, you haven't worked any of that stuff, the DVD is going to give you all of that. Now, if you
also shows a little bit of correction too.
Oh yeah.
It shows the corrective phase, which I don't think our do-it-yourself videos don't really get into that too much.
No, yeah, but like if you, I don't know, Sheila, but if you have your dog fully e-collar trained and you're having trouble just like doing some distraction work, proofing stuff, then it's not the DVD for you.
Yeah.
So definitely it's more of a foundation. I wouldn't say it's simple, but we make the complicated simple. That's kind of our protocol. But really that PDF, if you guys are looking for something, the PDF is kind of what we're basing the whole book on in a lot of ways. So if you take that PDF and
it really holds your hand as you go through a board and train process.
Yep. Yeah. We wanted to put a board and train into a PDF. So if you're interested in just like, what do you get when you work with them? It literally is that PDF. So.
And if you just want to collect all the cool stuff that we put out,
why not?
Too, right?
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thanks.
Good. All right.
Maddie Waddy.
Oh, my girl. Okay.
Are we on?
Yeah. Question 7. My girl, Maddie Waddy. It's not really her name, but I won't say what her real name is.
Disclose.
She's a good friend of mine and
somebody that you went out and did some special ops work for, right?
Yep. She was having some trouble with her dogs, and she lives.
They flew this special ops girl out to go take care of business out in another state.
Let's just say that Maddie and I had
she is.
The best weekend of our lives. It was so fun.
I think I missed out on that one.
It was a girl's time.
I had a chance and I was like, oh, I should have gone.
Okay. Maddie, she says, hi guys, I have a question regarding Toby, who Laura knows. Oh, Tobes. When I hike with him, he stays in a nice and relaxed heel, but once in a while he'll pull on the brakes and mark. He's not sniffing the ground or pulling to the side or anything. He just stops and pees. There's lots of smells on the earthy, narrow hiking trails. When we walk on paved walkways, this isn't an issue. He never tries to mark or pee unless I specifically give him a break. So I'm just curious if you think I should correct this or not. Normally, I just keep walking and give him a low leash pop or a low stim to keep moving on. It's not really causing an issue. I'm just not sure if it's fair or realistic on a dirt trail to expect no peeing at all. LOL. It can vary from 2 to 6 times on a 1-hour hike. By the way, Toby has been doing really well. I want to come out again.
Call me for help.
Please.
She was
tell
hoping
me that Toby's
she was
not
hoping
doing
Toby
well.
was a wreck. She was waiting for another flight out. So I'm going to let you handle this one too.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Okay. Okay. Well.
I have no familiarity with this case.
Okay. So, if he's walking in a heel, he shouldn't be pulling to anything, Maddie. Maddie. If you have him off leash, which I know we're not necessarily doing, but if you have him off leash and it's just you guys and you're hiking that trail and it's
this is all on leash stuff?
I think it's on leash. Okay. Yeah. I think that's what I got from it. Yeah, he stays at a heel. He'll put on the brakes and start to mark. Yeah. So if he's off leash because of some reason, then what I do with Hercules is I have him off leash and he's on kind of a break, like a loose heel. Like he can be kind of near me. He can't run off, away from me, but he can stay kind of close to me. And then he can go off and pee and do whatever he wants whenever. But if he's on leash and heel, he shouldn't be doing any of that. and you're, you know, what you said, just a leash pop or a low stim, that's where it's at. And to be honest, I would stay off the leash pop. I would make it a stim and maybe not low if he's continuing to do it. So we know, just so you guys all know, Toby's a big, strong, I like strapping dude. Maddie told me he was a lab mix until I walked in and realized he was mixed with a little bit more than that and was growling at me. No, but he's an awesome dog, and he he's definitely a robust dude. So maybe a little higher correction for pulling off to the side. Like? Sweet, soft.
Sweet? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not like bratty Martin. Like...
No. Nervous.
Okay.
So it's all nervous stuff. I would just knock it off, because you know, Maddie, as well as I do, that if you correct this stuff, it's just going to make him more comfortable. So, I love you.
Oh,
I do.
That's
We're
great.
like
You had a really
good
good
friends.
Time.
Yeah.
Really good time.
Yeah. Beyond just the dog training, she's like just an awesome lady. I wish I could tell you all who she is, really, because
she's undercover.
She was undercover, but she's an awesome chick.
Cool.
All right.
Take care.
Cool. All right. So, question number 8.
Meredith Ritchie.
We have Meredith
in the house.
Meredith says, "Hello, Sean and Laura."
Hello.
She doesn't spell your name right, though.
Skip this question.
No. I'm having trouble with the stubborn blue pit of mine. He's dog and human aggressive, and
Is his name Manny?
and maybe territorial. He's come a long way and does great with my dogs. On walks, I'm having a hard time getting his focus when walking by a dog, person, or barking dog in a yard. He's on alert most of the time. However, he's not a puller, which is great, but I just can't seem to get his focus very well, and then he'll go towards the person or dog on leash. Other time he's fine, and I feel like he isn't responding to the e-collar, and I'm not getting the right timing by hitting the e-collar vibrate with him. He's sensitive to the e-collar, so I don't have to go very high on times. I'd say he usually goes up to about 18, where he'll let me know when it's too high for him. Inside my house,
Hey, Mom, that's too high.
Mom,
let's take it down
not so into that.
Because I want to go chase that dog.
Inside my house, he's a great focus with the e-collar, place with my dogs, commands, etc. He's pretty calm till he goes outside, and then his focus is gone. Also, he's silent type outside, no hackles up or barking, growling. Any tips on how to get his focus? Ooh. I haven't used a prong. Should I? Usually it's just a slip rope and e-collar.
Now, this is a little bit unorthodox, but with the blue pitties that are really reactive like this, the thing I find to be most successful with them, like right off the bat, is just a good, strong blindfold. I really find, but it really takes that drive out of them.
Stop.
And you could even like put some earplugs in, and then just walk them around, guide them around. No, I'm just kidding. So a couple things. So you're going to get some of the same recommendations that I gave Meredith. You're going to get some of the same recommendations I gave some of the other folks about e-collar work and reactivity, because it's like it's the thing we probably see the most. So we're pretty darn good at it. Space, you got to use space, right? There's a lot of I don't want to say trainers, but there's just been a lot of information out there that's kind of taught people to just like forge ahead. Just don't stop moving and go in a straight line and strut on through like you own the joint. And that's a cool concept when it works, but it's not a cool one when it doesn't work. And a lot of times it doesn't work because dogs need a little more space, especially as you're trying to make improvements. So I want you to think of using space not as a failure, not as avoidance, but as a tool, as a buffer to help you improve your success rate. And if you think about it, a little bit of extra space, excuse me guys, a little bit of extra space actually gives you more wiggle room correction wise. You can work at lower levels. You've got more time to correct before your dog explodes, all that stuff. So space is a real essential component of this. Let's see, I wrote a couple notes for you. This is always a big one, and once again with the pitties, it's an easy tell. Ears come up, forehead wrinkles, you've got to correct early and you've got to correct firmly. You wait even a few seconds. These guys are so drivey and they're so like they're so high energy and can be so on edge that you get behind them. And I don't mean physically behind them. I mean like behind them emotionally with your training, with your e-collar, with your corrections, and you're gonna lose. They're gonna lift off, and you're gonna lose them, and it's gonna be bad news. So, correcting early, more firmly, which can be counterintuitive for a lot of people, is the way that you can really help the dog relax and cap that energy or that lift off before it goes. Using space, of course, like I just said, as your big ally. Another part of this, and I wanted to kind of dig into this, is that I'm concerned that maybe you're having a hard time because the inside levels are seeming different than the outside levels. He's responsive and he's tuned in, and the levels that you're using inside are probably comfortable and getting a successful response, but outside you're saying you're not getting the same response, and you're saying he's letting you know when it's too much. Yeah. That is a strange statement. So if he's letting you know it's too much,
but he's still doing it.
what I would say is if when the dog is letting you know it's too much is when the dog is not doing the response anymore to the dogs, right? When it's too much, the dog would be like, good, I'm not responding anymore. But if your dog is still getting silly and crazy around other dogs or reactive, then your timing is probably too slow, and then when you are getting on him, it's just not giving you what you need. So first things first is to understand that inside world and outside world are very, very different. And I'm sure you know that to some degree, but it can be really dramatic. It can be really different. And we'll work with dogs in here that, especially these pitties, will work with dogs that'll work at like 7, 8 on a educator mini. And then you'll go outside, and I'm not kidding you, they for a heel correction or looking at a dog or something, they might work at 40, 50, or 60, sometimes higher.
And not even care about it.
And not even care. We've got a dog right now that you can correct on it. We had to move him up to a higher collar, but one of these pitties that you can correct at a 70 or an 80, which sounds insane, and the dog will go like this. The neck will move just a little bit like that, and he's like.
But inside, you can be on a 12, and he'll be like...
And he's like, I'm hopping too.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not saying use 70 or 80, but what I want to do is really clarify for you that inside levels will be dramatically different, especially with these pitties. They get so jazzed by the environment, so reactive by stuff going on. That's, they're just awesome dogs. I own several of them, but the biggest challenge is that driviness that comes out when the environment gets stimulating or exciting, when dogs or anything else goes around. So you're going to need, most likely, I would say, I'm go out on a ledge.
Limb.
Go on a limb. Yeah, I don't want to go out on a ledge, right? That's dangerous. So I'll go out on a limb because it's a little safer. But you're gonna probably need to be using considerably higher levels outside with this dog earlier than you're using in the house. Mm-hmm. So, and when I say earlier, I just mean earlier in the process of escalation. I just think that that's probably where you guys are stumbling, is that the contrast probably seems like a lot to you, and seems like your dog is yelping or something like that, but still doing the same behavior. So if your dog's yelping and you're getting up high on the collar, you need to use more space. Yeah. You need to be correcting earlier. You need to be doing foundation work inside the house and doing place and things like that. Anything that I've missed in this whole little tirade?
You've carried it.
Yeah.
Done it.
Anything else? You cool with that?
No.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
So that's what I'd go with, and just check it out.
All foundation.
Yeah,
it really is.
All we do is let the dog tell us, right? And that doesn't mean that we're irresponsible and we just roll on the dial. But I don't look at the remote. All I do is look at the dog. So if the dog is being reactive and he starts to, forehead wrinkles and the ears come up, all I do is pop and say no and watch the dog. Up, no, up, no, and all of a sudden the dog's ears go back and the dog relaxes. I go, cool, there we go. And if I'm rolling up to significant levels and not getting that, then I know I need more space. Oh, okay, this is too much pressure for you at this point with that specific dog right there. We need more space, and so I'll move them away and work through that. So hopefully that covers it. Cool. This is the marathon session.
Question 9. This is from Instagram, and it's from Fagella.
We've had one from Fagella before. We got some regulars going on, right?
He says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. Love this Q&A format and so appreciate you addressing my question the other week. I'm the pack dog walker from the Bay. Remember I told him to be a trainer?
Yeah. That's awesome.
I had a question about another client dog. So clearly he's doing just fine with the... My suggestion was he's already doing it.
He's like, yeah,
he's like, thanks.
Yeah, don't try and run my life.
He's a young adolescent Cavalier King Charles Spaniel with overly bombarding social skills of dogs. His way of greeting and interacting is to jump, paw, and lick faces in infant puppy style.
I used to be like that in junior high.
You're still like that?
Oh.
No. It's his way of greeting. I always stress the behavior and work to keep him on task and focused on our walk, and his leash skills have become fantastic. However, the second he's allowed to interact on a sniff break or in the truck, he's right back in this behavior, which none of the dogs care for. I'm walking him on a mini prong, and though he responds to the correction, this info doesn't seem to stick. I don't let the dogs correct each other, but I did decide to let a few older dogs correct him safely, and he'll let out a shriek, fall back, then wiggle back up to the dogs with overly submissive gestures, even peeing, which the dog doesn't want.
I didn't do that in junior high.
No, you don't do that now, which is good. They want him to calm down and give space, but he doesn't seem to grasp it. Most of the dogs begrudgingly tolerate this behavior, and I keep them away from the grouchier dogs, but I'd love to advise on this guy being able to socialize normally. Literally, he sounds like both of us, just as humans. That's me. Like, when I meet friends that I love, like you even heard me talking about Maddie, I'm like, Sean, I want to be friends with him. I can't wait. I'm just like my own dog. It's the same exact thing. Like Brittany, our head trainer now, or our head trainer for one-on-ones. Like when I met her, I was like, she left, and I was like, Sean, we're going to be friends. Just wait. All right.
It's cute. It's cute. I'm glad you're not peeing anything.
Not peeing.
So, okay, guys. So we got Fagella. Okay, so it's an interesting thing you're talking about, right? I've seen several dogs like this. I've got a friend who's got a dog named Carter, who's a little pit bull, and I actually worked with him when he was a puppy, and I had the same exact behavior from him, except I guarantee you it was 1,000 times worse than your Cavalier. When I was working on socializing him, he would run up to any dog and throw himself on his back and wiggle like this, and then roll, and then run, and then lick their face, and then it was like every dog was so annoyed with him, and I was annoyed with him. It was like something was broken in his like submissive like puppy, programming. So I've seen a few of these, and it's
that's awesome.
It's an interesting thing to watch.
It's not as bad as me. So
yeah, it's an interesting thing to watch. So, but not a thing a lot of dogs enjoy. So, I would continue. Here's what I got for you guys. I would continue the leash and prong corrections and try to tame that beast, and basically just set some parameters for behavior. I think you're going to find that you're going to butt up against some ceiling there. I think you're going to find that there's going to be just some built-in limitations. I found that with Carter. He's a good dog, sweet guy. He's well trained, but he's not that wild like chimpanzee on crack part. Like never left him. I mean, he's well trained, but he's still got some of that stuff going on. And my suspicion is it really feels like it's a bit of a mental thing with dogs that have that ridiculously like manic, overly submissive kind of behavior going on. So you're probably going to see a ceiling with that where you can only get so far. But that said, who knows how far we can get. So leash and prong, just like you're doing, correct for all the monkey business, and really try and set a firm tone for that dog. What I found was that in most contexts, I could really keep Carter and other dogs with that kind of behavior in a pretty darn good space. I just ran a really tight ship and allowed for very little silliness. The only time where that got away would be when they were off leash and just kind of cavorting around and just kind of doing their own thing. So he's doing pack walk stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're doing pack walk stuff, you should be able to keep that little monster in a pretty good space. just by really asking for really good behavior and not tolerating any silliness, and all the dogs will thank you for it. Now, so that's one. So that's your part. And the other part is if you do have really trust. I know you kind of already hinted at this or suggested it. If you have some really trustworthy older dogs, they can be helpful for this. If they can kind of correct a little bit. I rarely say like let the dogs do it and let the dogs work it out, but with more like kind of puppyish stuff and with really like safe, secure, mature dogs that will lay down the law, it can be really effective because they can correct in ways that we won't. So like my guy Junior is really awesome with that. He does not tolerate puppy shenanigans, but he won't hurt them. So if you have anybody like that on the roster, you can see if you can tap them for a little help.
Sure, that's what he did kind
assist.
of already.
But I mean,
allowing it.
I would, but you got to really trust those dogs. So the majority of the work I would just do myself and just make sure that just let that dog know that you're not gonna stand for any monkey business.
Okay, question number 10. This is from
Manny.
This is from Curly. This is from Instagram.
Yeah.
The handle is CurlyYKP.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Come say hi.
Good morning.
Say hi.
I have a 15-month-old dog that I rescued back in May. She's extremely sweet and extremely high energy.
Yep.
She's never been aggressive with other dogs or people. However, she has a strange fear of objects. I think she might have been hit before because one day I brought a rake into a house and she freaked out and acted terrified and was shaking.
Why would you have a rake in the house?
Anyways, whenever we go on walks and people are out, they have any sort of object, she freaks out, barks at them, and jumps around and acts very aggressive. Mm-hmm. For example, I took her walking the other day and she did this when we saw a woman with grocery bags, a small child on a skateboard, and 2 people using some sort of exercise equipment. I feel bad because I think she scares people when she acts that way. I have to get off the sidewalk every time I see someone approaching. Do you have any advice?
So
Objects.
dogs freaking out about just random objects. So you got yourself a pretty nervous, anxious dog. Just
She's
in general.
extremely sweet, extremely high energy.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
Foundation.
So well, first things first. First things first. That's a really bad impersonation of somebody on
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
Don't worry
Unrecognizable. Sorry. So I would say, first things first, I'd say, what tools are you using? Because I don't think she mentions any tools. So if you've got a dog on a harness, on a flat buckle, on a martingale, and he's reactive and uncomfortable and tense and anxious and insecure and freaked out, there's a good chance that all those tools are going to keep your dog locked in that space and make your dog feel unconnected or disconnected from you emotionally and physically, which will cause your dog to be stressed, anxious, and make lots of bad decisions about lots of things that it could probably do a better job with. So that said, if you've got your dog on leash and prong and are walking your dog in a structured fashion, then that's awesome. That's a great place to start. But if not, that would be my first recommendation. We get a ton of dogs, even like for our walk doctor program, that come in, back when I was doing a lot of those programs, a lot of dogs would come in with that exact description, right? And reacted to everything and just,
how are we going to make this work?
Yeah, and my dog's so stressed out and so insecure. And then we put him on leash and prong and teach him a structured walk. And what you'd find is that the stress and the anxiety that's causing all these reactions would really, really dissipate and fade to a pretty tremendous amount. And then you'd see the dog not care about a lot of stuff that you used to care about a lot. So now there's obviously exceptions. There's dogs that show up here all the time for board and train that don't fall into that category, that are really genuinely over the top, out of their tree, stressed and anxious at a much higher level. And those dogs, we do, full comprehensive board and train with the, e-collar, best tools, everything like that. But if you haven't used any other tools besides maybe a flat harness or martingale or general leader or something like that, then the prong collar could really turn your world around if you haven't. Because, like I said, it really does mitigate some of that kind of anxious energy, and it will really cause the dog to tune in and walk next to you. And what the byproduct of that is that your dog feels really connected to you. It's a hard one for people to understand. I'm not advocating like a pretty heel. I don't care about that. What I'm advocating is a dog that feels very emotionally connected to its owner in a powerful, positive way rather than a disabled or disempowered fashion. So using the leash and prong to create a really immaculate heel with a really structured walk where your dog is being given information about what's expected of it rather than feeling alone in the world and just kind of walking willy-nilly. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm saying if you are doing this, then the byproduct is stressed, anxious dog, seeing things, not knowing what to make of it, assessing it, feeling its job because no one else is telling it what to do, and starts making bad reactions, and then that just cycles and generalizes and gets worse and worse and worse. So if you are on leash and prong, or if you're going to go to leash and prong, which I highly suggest, then I would go to the structured walk. You can watch our structured walk video on www.thegooddog.net.
Under videos.
Do it yourself, and click on the walk, and then it shows you very easily what the structured walk looks like and what the rules are. And if you follow that, you will definitely see some profound changes in your dog. Now, let's just say you're already on leash and prong. Then if you were coming to us for hiring us, then we would take you to e-collar work, because there are definitely dogs that we have in our kennel right now that are board and trains that leash and prong would not be sufficient for them to be in the state that we're really looking for them to be in, which is a much more relaxed, calm, tuned in, focused, deferential, chilled out space. Yeah. So I don't have all the information about what you got cooking, and so hopefully with my multitude of answers, I gave you some different options to use. But here's the upshot. Here's the overview. Give your dog a lot of information. Yeah. Anxious, nervous, stressed out dogs, give them a ton of information, give them a ton of structure, and don't feel bad about it. Don't feel, oh God, he's not getting to sniff or pee or do all these things that he really loves to do. Let him sniff and pee on your release. Go potty. Give him a second to do that, but now march. Walk with me. Give him a ton of information and watch your dog start to feel better and more comfortable in the world. That's really the answer for so many of these problems. So many issues just fade away once you do that. So anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, just nervous dogs that we get in all the time. They'll give us like a laundry list of, oh, the dog, can't stand guys with hats on and vacuums and like anything out on the walk, like, oh, garbage trucks. It was cool. We have Laszlo. Laszlo just went home today. You guys may have been following him. Yeah, Laz. So I got a text from his owner a couple nights ago. His owner, who should probably be a dog trainer.
She's badass.
Awesome. Yeah. So I got a text from her. Oh, she also provided the
libations for.
Move
your hand.
Oh, there sorry. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I just wasn't even looking. So she, she's awesome. So, but she texted me the other night.
It's a good client when they bring wine over for you afterwards.
And avocados and lemons.
Yeah,
and lots of good stuff.
They're awesome.
So, she texted and was like, "Oh, there's thunder going on. You got to make sure Laz is okay." It's
a major issue for him.
Major issue for Laz, and he on the first few days was just scared of everything.
Yeah.
But we didn't...
On the walks, just scampering, just trying to get away from everything,
But we didn't specifically work on thunder. We didn't work on garbage trucks. We didn't go around garbage trucks and be like, all right, deal with this. Yeah. We basically just did all our foundation work and worked with him on the walk and make sure he felt more comfortable, more confident.
Very led.
Very led. I call him the bubble boy because he needs a lot of direction.
He's a fearful young man.
Yeah. But doing all that stuff, then the other night when she texted me, I was like, oh, Sean, you got to watch out for the thunder. Nothing. We looked at the little drop cam and Laz was totally okay. He was, no problems whatsoever. No thunder was going on. So that's just a byproduct of doing all the foundation. So I would just say go for that. All the videos that we put out there, or the DVD, or anything that any of our trainers that we recommend, on YouTube.
There's a reason that we hammer on and on about foundation work, and it's not just because we think it's cool or that we created it or something like that. It's because we see it work miracles with a lot of dogs. And when you see it generalize and ripple out and work on things that you've never addressed, it's a pretty cool thing. Yeah. So it looks too simple to be possible. Like, how can all this stuff create that?
Just from simple stuff.
Just trust us.
Just real quick, something I say on the phone, and we'll wrap up. But something I say to
Q&A Saturday and Sunday.
No, something I say on the phone to people all the time is because people will say, okay, my dog's doing all these things, but he also knows everything. He knows place, he knows sit, he knows down, he knows all. So I say, yeah, all those things are just a bridge to state of mind. So your dog could have an immaculate sit, an immaculate down, but if they can pop up out of that down and run across the room and go do something else, that down doesn't have the power that we're looking for.
The value.
Yeah, so we're looking to have that value of, you do this and it's non-negotiable. It's the way that we're communicating. It's the way that we're building relationship. It's not about that of course it's great that the dog can be on place or in a down or a sit or whatever, but all those things we just use as a bridge to state of mind. So that's why we talk about foundation. You do all that foundation work and you get a better state of mind. You get a better dog up here, and then he goes out in the world and he's like, I don't care about objects. I don't care about any of that stuff. I mean, we've had dogs that have been in here that have been actually literally beaten by things that the owners have seen it happen, with people that they know, or where the dog was living before. So, and then the dog doesn't care about those things anymore just because you say, here, I'm just going to guide you. You're cool.
Yeah. What about the pig?
The pig?
There wasn't a pig.
There wasn't a pig. That's a good, yeah. So if you want to go check out the blog post that Sean wrote called There Wasn't a Pig, I think it's actually called that. That's a really good example of just this whole thing that foundation generalizes. So
yeah, it's a pretty cool story about a dog that had major issues with a pig.
With a literal pig.
A literal pig. Not just me with Pop-Tarts, but a literal pig. And went to Tony, right?
Yep.
Went to Tony, our head trainer, and Tony doesn't have any pigs. He's short on pigs right now. And Tony did foundation work, just all the usual stuff we do here, and the dog went back to its place where there is a pig, the pig that he had a major fixation issue with, and strangely enough, didn't care about that pig anymore. So
it didn't matter.
It's pretty cool stuff, and
we're gonna run out of battery, so we gotta wrap up.
Gotta wrap up. Hopefully, this is a marathon session, but I think this is a really action jam-packed.
Yeah.
I think we really stretched out and gave you guys some pretty awesome answers, if we do say so ourselves. And so
we love you guys. This is really fun. The Q&A Saturdays are going off, and we're starting a podcast probably this upcoming week. So watch out for that.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're having a great time, and we're really appreciating all the support. Getting a lot of you guys are viewing and appreciating it.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty awesome.
And we'd love to know what you think. Anything you'd want to add, or anything you'd love to extras, or anything like that. We're all ears.
You want to remove.
Yeah. Well.
I mean the wine. We'll recover from this. Don't you worry.
Goodbye.